Hey everybody, welcome back to Stand Up Your Tubes, where we control the tubes and the tubes never control us. So look at this cute little bunny. There's something very special about this little guy. Besides the fact that it's got the cutest face ever, dreamy eyes, our little guy is dressed. So let me just back the camera out and show you the rest of the bunny. Check it out. Cute little boots. Look at that sweater. And this is just the cutest little project. And we can use our scrap yarn because just find yourself a sock that is just really, really cute. And I'll show you what I used with the little kitty on here. On the back, it's just got some Christmas trees. And what I like about this is that you can also take the hoodie off, just pull it back, and just sporting the sweater, and it's still just the cutest little face ever. So I hope you'll stick around for the tutorial, that you'll like, subscribe, follow, and watch Stand Up Your Tubes, where every week I try to bring you something new under the sun that you may not have tried design, so it's just limited by your imagination. Well, how are we going to get started? By making our arms. So I like to have one already made to show you. So this tube for the arms, the entire project's 22 pin is 34 rows. Now this is intermediate, and I call it that because I don't take time to show you how to crank out a tube, how to cast on, cast off, or mattress stitch. So if you've done a couple little projects and you know how to cast on, cast off, mattress stitch, then this project is for you. So we're going to do our arm times 2, and I'm using, I love this yarn from Hobby Lobby, and it's just got such a soft, fluffy feeling to it that I don't always get with a Red Heart Super Saver or a cheaper yarn. And I was able to use scrap yarn, so it didn't take anywhere near a full skein. And as a matter of fact, it used up all that I had. So crank out 2 tubes that are 34 rows, cinch the ends up, tie a knot. You don't have to tie this end yet, but the end that you're going to start sewing with, bring your tube folded in half and start mattress stitching up. So get your V's facing the right direction, then 2 bars, 2 bars. As you get going up, this will be your paw. Start stuffing it lightly till you get something like this, but put no stuffing in the last 3 fingers because that is going to go up inside the body tube, and we want the arm to be able to bend forward. Before you cinch up this end and tie your mattress stitch to that cast on or cast off yarn, give that mattress stitch an extra little tug to curve that arm. I like to do that because then when we insert the tube, it is just automatically curving towards the center front torso of the body. It looks better than it just coming straight out the side. So we control our tube that way. All right, the arms are made. So let's do our body tube. So we're going to do the body 62 rows total, and it'll look like this. So crank out your body 62 rows, and then let's move on to our pants. Okay, so as you probably have figured out, the arms are going to go in like this. So we can set this off to the side, and here are our legs. So I wanted to show you the yarn I used. It's donated. Some of you will know what it is. I really don't, but it's really got a texture to it. Look how it just frays out at the end. I thought, boy, would this make some good hair, the way it just, I don't know what that is. It cranked out perfectly on my 22 pin. I even used a 4-volt drill, never dropped or tucked a stitch. And I like that it just really gave some texture to our pants. And the reason I'm using this color is because my sock has red in it. And I thought that that would make a cute little sweater. Okay, so how are we going to do it? My body color, 15, 15, and then the inner tube is 56 for my pants. So crank that out. Make sure when you do your yarn change, I tied about 4 knots here because of the way, look at it, how it's fraying. So I did 4 knots and then trimmed it off kind of close. So go ahead and get that cranked out, and I'll show you how we're going to put this little body together. It's that quick and that simple. Can you believe it? All right, now that you have your tube, let's fold it in half, line up our color change here, and just mark with a bobby pin. We're also going to mark it on the outside edge, just so our tube slips in here with a little to spare. Okay, now we can, better fold it this way so I can pull the pins back out. We're going to fold it in half and mattress stitch. Okay, so I've made it to where my white and red color changes, and I'm stuffing this toe out nice and firm, but without distorting my stitches, so that we have a nice firm foot for our little guy or girl to stand on. Then I'm going to finish up right here, not even tie a knot, just mattress stitch, lightly stuff the rest of the leg out, so you have, you know, I'll show you mine. We're gonna put quite a bit of stuffing in it, but not make it rock hard, if that makes sense. So I'll be back again. All right, so I've sewn up one end and stuffed. I've taken out my pins now because I sewed up to here. So when you're stuffing, make sure that these are stuffed out the same. If you don't, one might look shorter than the other because you didn't push that stuffing down in and stretch that out. So now I have them looking pretty much the same. Just went in here and pushed that stuffing down in a little bit more. And I'm going to go ahead and stuff up to where my pin was, just like I did on this side. And take a look at it, fold it in half, and see if I like the way they're stuffed out and if they seem to be matching up on both sides. And I did have to add more stuffing down into this toe because when I went like this, it looked a little short, and I realized that I had just not stuffed it as much as I needed to. All right, then folding in half, I stopped sewing here. I want this to line up and come across, so I'm going to take one more stitch on this side, just the 2 bars on the front side here. And now look how they line up. So much better. All right, so this is going to be put together a little different than other dolls I've made because we're going to insert the body tube in, kind of bring it up a little bit. That's why we stayed 1/4 inch away on the sides, so we could just kind of bring this up, and then it's just going to become part of the pants, and the legs will still close because we're going to test it. You're going to make sure that you can close your legs and you don't have stuffing up in this part of your pant tube by doing this. And if you can do that, then you're ready to sew. So if your yarn is long enough, you can keep sewing with it. With this tube folded in half, we don't want to go through this tube or this tube because we're going to stuff this tube. So keep your stitches for the front leg into this tube only, this tube only. Okay, so push your tube down in all the way to the bottom. In the first couple stitches we take, we can go into the sides of this tube to be closing it up. So I'm pulling my pants up a little bit onto this tube. I want it to go straight across, so I'm going to find my row going straight across, coming into the side of that tube to close it, a stitch right here. Now I'm going to keep mattress stitching, so I'm going to find my 2 bars, and with the top lined up, just fold your tube in half, and picking my row, I'm now going to go under a row and then back into my 2 bars. And if you have to fudge just a little bit, that's okay. And what I've noticed is that this yarn is very hard to keep track of where the stitches are. Okay, so now I've gone into 2 bars, and I'm going to have to go under. I just went under this first edge here to catch it. My V's are pointing up, so now I'm going to go under 2 rows, and that lines it up on top of my leg tube again. I'm going to go under the next 2 bars. And staying in the same row with my V's pointing up, going under the next 2 rows of V's. So I'm staying on top of, on top of my pant tube, and I can be cinching this up. And if you need to fudge just a little bit to get it to come to the other side and for your legs to close, keeping it up on the same row until you get to the side here and then close it up, you can fudge. Okay, so it ended almost perfectly for me. When I got to this end, I wasn't quite on the same row as I came up on this, but it was just like a half a row off. So I'm going to take this yarn tail and this yarn tail. I took my last stitch into my body tube, so my yarn tail's on the body tube now. And it's getting a little short, so I'm going to tie these 2 together. Make sure that it's snugged all the way across the top here. Give it a little extra tug. And tie a knot here. Take my longest yarn tail. Keep your tube together at the top now. And do the same thing on the back. Bring it up onto the body tube a little bit. So we're not going just straight down here. We want it to look like the pants come up. So we're stretching it up because these are rounded out, which is taking out some of the height of it. So we can pull this up because there's no stuffing in this part of our tube. So make sure you're together at the top when you do this. Set your doll up. Make sure you're still able to close the legs. Mine were closing this way. And go across your back. Make sure you take that last little stitch on the side here and get a good knot and bury your yarn tails, and we'll come back. All right, I'm back where I started, and I have a little opening right here that I'm going to close up. So I'm going to go through everything, sides of both tubes, into my little leg, catching a row, and then just sew down a stitch until I close that up. So easy. And I'm going to bury my yarn tail after I tie a little knot here. And I want to tie the knot. I'm going to come back, I think I'm going to come back up this way and tie the knot in the white where it won't show in my red. So make sure everything's snugged up and go ahead and get your knot right here. And we're ready to put in our arm tubes. I'm going to tie one more little knot, bury up this way into the white. All right, pants. So easy. Not hard at all. And now our doll. Our legs, if you feel like they're not quite closing right, just work that stuffing back away from that joint a little bit, and it'll work out. Sits really well. So now we're going to insert our arms, and they are going to go up here, and we want to have little shoulders, so we're going to have about 4 single stitches above where we insert our arm. In the center, they're going to tie together because we're going to come up under the arm, then we're going to sew above the arm. That's going to let this arm rotate, give it some motion. Before we start sewing, let's take the top of the body tube here and cinch it up over about 4 fingers to get a bunch of that loopiness out of it. It's easier that way also to see that you're lining up the top of your tube. So let me take these off to the side. I'm going to get my row I want to sew into. I'm going to come down. If you're going to do 2 bars, it'd be 1 2 1 2 3 4 3 4. But I'm going to start by tying a knot up here. That's how I like to start it, so I know that I have a really secure stitch up here. And it's going to be up underneath the chin. Okay, so that was right into my cast on, cast off. Lining up my tube here. My stitches are going this direction. I'm going to do 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars, 2 bars. All right, here's my shoulder. It's 1 2 1 2 3 4 3 4, and with the little knot here, I can really make sure I get that mattress stitch pulled shut. So these go inside the body. We can tie them together. It just lets the arm rotate up and down. So just bringing them together and securely tying. I'm going to give it that third knot. And just shorten these a bit. Okay, so now we'll pull this up inside, and before we close this side up under the second arm, we have to do a little stuffing, but for right now, with that centered, we're just going to push that up towards those 4 stitches we did. Okay, before we push up too high, I like that position, so let's tie a knot here. Just go through your both loops on both sides so we get a nice secure knot. Give it an extra little snug and knot it. All right, so we wanted our arms to kind of curve to the front, so this is the point where you look at your doll and see which side you like the best when it's sitting. So I think I like this. I like the way it comes across the front, so I'm going to have my arms gently rolling towards the front, keeping this into the center, and we can adjust that again as we go along. I'm just going to feed my needle down in through my rows till I get under the arm. We'll adjust it in a minute. It's got to come in a little bit more, so make sure you've got it towards the center because you have a little bit of stuffing that's probably hanging out right there. And come under the arm here and tie a knot. How easy is this to put together a little doll that looks like it's really wearing pants and it's going to have the cutest little sweater. So mattress stitch down till you reach your pants right here, and then tie a knot, bury your yarn tail. We'll do the next shoulder, do some stuffing from the top and the bottom to pad this out, get our shape just perfect. I'll be right back. Let's secure the arms now. So roll your doll over to the back. We tied the 2 arms together so they're touching inside. So let's get under our yarns. And come up on our body tube where that lines up and pull out a yarn tail. There we go. Now thread up the other end. And we're underneath where we tied these 2 together, so we're trapping it. And come up right above in the row, not across, but right above that row, come out. And now when we tie this nice and snug, it's barely noticeable because it's in the row going up and down, not across a stitch. That is trapping our arms, and now they can't pull out. Pretty cool, huh? But they can still rotate. All right, so I'm going to tie a double knot here, bury these yarn tails, and you can add some, by doing it this way, into the butt area to round our butt out a little bit. Get it into the chest. Before we close up our top here, we'll want to make sure that we stuff on top of the arms, that we get a little stuffing over the chest area in the front. So let's roll it over to the front. It's getting a really nice little profile going. Thread up a needle. I have my yarn doubled and go into the end of the arm tube here. We can do this because we haven't closed anything up. Go through the top of the other one. And now just make sure it's securely tied together. Something you can just do to fine tune it if you look in there and you think, wow, I feel like I have a little slack between my arms that shouldn't have been there. Well, we control the tubes, so we're just going to tie it again. And now that problem, if you had a problem, has been solved. And we can snug up our neck a little bit. This is where we add a little bit of stuffing into our chest and make sure that we're happy with our body. And don't worry about that little divot. That's never going to show because we're wearing a sweater. Okay, I feel like the arms are a little more secure since I did that extra little safety precaution there. Have the torso stuffed out. I'm going to go ahead and snug up my yarn tails. And we're getting closer and closer to having a finished, completed doll. So now the head is a single tube. I've already folded mine in half so I wouldn't confuse it with other parts because it was so similar in size to the arms, and I just wanted to make sure. So the head is 33 rows, and we can just snug up the slack over 4 fingers, turn it in half, and line up the bottom. And to prepare the top to close it, we're going to thread up a needle and go under a row, over a row, under, over, under, till we get all the way around. And after we get it all stuffed and everything, that'll be the last thing we do. Even when we sew this onto the body, we'll leave this top open enough that we can add some more stuffing to get the shape just perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and put my drawstring through the top. Okay, so where we put our cord in is going to be the top of the head. So let's close up our neck. Let's not cinch it up really, really snug. And I'll tell you why. What I've discovered is if we leave the opening just big enough to go around a couple fingers, that when we sew it onto the body, if we just stay back a row away from our cast on, cast off row, it helps us keep track of where we're sewing. So it's not completely closed yet. This becomes the top. And now let's just put a tiny little bit of stuffing in there just so we can imagine it rounded out, because we have to decide where we're going to put our eyes. And so we can actually just close this up a little bit at the top. And this will be our head. The eyes are your choice. I'll show you what I'm going to use, but any eye is going to look beautiful. Whatever you want to put on there, you do not have to buy the eye that I'm using, but I will put a link in the description. I'm going to use an eye that has a full eye surround that wraps over the eye. Now, what I love about these is there's a whole bunch of them in the pack, and I'll give you the link. I just ordered them and they came like in 2 days. You can also take a Sharpie and make this whole surround black. I'm going to leave it brown this time, but you can take other eyes that you have that are pretty similarly sized that maybe have the slanted eyelid, the slanted pupil, and you can insert them in these and get amazing looks. I'm going to position my eyes where I like them and just put the little dot in the center. And then I'm going to insert my eye into the little eye surround, let the top loose again, pull out some stuffing if I need to, and go ahead and put the backs on, making sure that the eyes are positioned correctly, that they haven't slipped sideways or gone wonkers on you. Yeah, I'm heating up the glue gun. I'm gonna loosen up my stuffing so that it goes in nice to my head. And get it stuffed back out again. Let's go ahead and sew this head on. Let's tie these yarn ends together when we have just a little round opening that we can insert 2 fingers in now. Tie a knot, shorten one just a little bit. We'll sew with the other one. This will be what we tie off to when we've gone around. Let me get my glue gun a little bit further back. Okay, so we cinched this up so it kind of matches. It'll go over 2 fingers. And these were the 2 yarn tails we were pulling with. We have one to sew with, so we'll just shorten these down, tie them off. That secures our yarn tails, our cast on and cast off row. We can just poke that down inside. We're going to go at least a full stitch back off of that row that is our cast on or cast off row. Leave this one hanging out. Position your head and start sewing it around. One row back from where it wraps our cast on or cast off row. So I'm going to just start right here in the front, tie one little knot because I'm positioning where my thread is going to sew from here. All right, so I'm going to just go around my little guy's head until I have it all sewn around, and then I'll tie off to my short yarn tail. Go around twice if that makes you happy. I sewed all the way around, tied it off to my shorter yarn tail I left there, snugged it up, pulled that yarn before I tied it, and now I'm just going to do this just to bring the neck in just a little bit, bring it around to the back. Just helps to find that neck. Double tie it, bury the yarn tail down into the body. So now sit your creature up and take a look at it. If you're going to use the pom-poms, this is going to be a bunny tail that's a bigger 2-inch pom-pom. I believe they say these are 1 inch, and this is probably a 1/2 inch. Find the nicest part of your pom-pom, because sometimes it's not all created equal. Like I have a little fuzz coming out here. I'll just trim that off. This helps make the project go quickly. And another secret is when I find the part of my pom-pom that I like the way it looks the best, I'm going to hold it up and trim the back of it off. And you can do that to make it flat. Like this. And it's still nice and secure. Now they rest flat. And when I glue them on, they won't be projected out so far. So when we position our little fluffy little muzzle on, we want to bring that bottom lip right up into it so it becomes part of it. So now that the glue gun is hot, I'm going to glue the first one on. Less is best. You can go back and add, but you can't take it away. Right into the center of it. So I'm just going to press it right down onto the face. Do the same thing with this side. Keep the glue right in the center. I'm going to press it right down, centering it right under the eye. Sorry, my head is in the way, huh? Sometimes I have to be able to see too. And then when I do this bottom lip, I'm pushing it up into it. Tiny bit of glue. Always less is best. You can add, but you can't take away. So pushing it up in there. Now you definitely see that it has a little bottom lip right there. A little bit hard to see white on white. But that's our little face. It's going to be cute. And now we can talk about our sweater. So take a sharp pair of scissors. Small scissors are best. Cut just around the circle part of the toe. Then we're going to fold it up to the inside so we have so it's straight across the bottom for the bottom of our sweater. And we're going to glue it in place with hot glue. It's as simple as that. Okay, so here's where the magic happens. It's because it gets to wear a hoodie that makes it so cute, and then we'll have the ears coming out of our hoodie. So bring it up around your face like this, kind of a little bit of a gangster, a little bit of a gangster rabbit. And now we have the bottom glued up, just so we're not going to fray. It should come right about to the top of your pants line. And now this is the scary part, but hey, this came with 2 socks. So if you mess up, just take the second sock and start over and learn from your mistake. But I don't think that's going to happen. So let's decide where our arm is going to go through. And it looks to me like it's going to go through about right here. I'll just mark the top with my needle. Pull its hoodie off. And that's going to be the top of where my arm needs to be. Just a little slit because it's going to want to open up even more on its own. The top here, and cut a little slit and be very gentle about how big I make my slit. Because it's going to grow all on its own. So it's like this. I can get my finger through. Very easily get my finger through. Keeping this completely centered, our little person on the front is centered. I'm going to roll it in half and do the snip right over here at the same spot. Snip down. Now I'm going to see if I can get this to go on and the arms to go through. I pulled the little rabbit down into my lap to get it over. Okay, so its little face is sticking through. So cute. Okay, now let's work our arms through and see if we cut that hole big enough. It's gonna grow, so expect it to grow on you, or you, I'll say. Okay. And pull the other one through. Let's work it through. There we go. So now decide what kind of trim you might want to use to go around the armhole. And we're going to start gluing and stop gluing under the armhole, but this is going to neaten it up and make it look intentional like that. So much better. If I used a bigger product like this, it'll look even, I think even, maybe even better. So I am going to use my glue gun, make sure my sweater is positioned, and start gluing it. Pull off any looseness on the end here. I'm going to start with a dot under my arm, not gluing onto my arm, but gluing onto the sweater. So I'm down a little bit from where my arm tube is, and I'm just going to lay this down onto it and let that start drying before I try to bring it up around. I'm going to be gluing right back in here so that it's resting up to my arm, but not on my arm, because we can still get our arms to, to go up and down and move a little bit. And that's going to be a fun thing about this rabbit. So I'm going to go ahead and just bead it up, bring it up over the shoulder, bring it down underneath, gluing it just a little bead of glue going all the way around, and I'll join you back. And I decided I want to make the head just a little bit fatter. So I'm going to put a little more stuffing in it. That's why we don't, so that more face shows out of the sock. That is making the hat to the hoodie, or the top, the hood to the hoodie. And there we go. Check that out. Bring it back up, see if I like that a little better. A little bigger face. The beauty of tying bows. How cute is that? How easy it is to dress a doll using a sock. And you could even put something around the bottom of the sweater if you wanted to. I kind of held it up there, thought about it. It looked cute, but it kind of cut her little feet off, so I didn't want to do that. There we go. All right, so let's not forget to put our bunny tail on. Just setting it down and just bringing it up, because we all know they would have a little slit in their pants for the bunny tail to come through, right? All right. And then if you want to fine tune it, if you feel like you want a little more of it touching along the body, you can just add a little glue around your pom-pom. You can put more on, but you can never take it off. So go easy with it. And there is our guy's little tail. There we have it. I wanted long ears, so I cranked them out 27 rows. You can look at my project, and if you want them shorter, make them shorter. So I'm just closing one end up and tying a knot on it, burying my yarn tail, then cinching the other side up, doing the same thing. And when I insert it onto the head, I'm just going to let them hang down like this. So get yours ready, cinched up. Whichever end looks the roundest and the nicest can be the bottom of the ear. And we'll just do the little knot and bury our yarn tail. Well, I had to put my glue gun back in because I kept looking at my little face and something was missing, and it was the nose. So I'm going to take the little 1-inch pom-pom. I decided to go with brown. Really have to push it down in between these two pom-poms, just like we did the little bottom lip. Put a little bead of glue on it and nestle it down in between the two cheek pom-poms. If you do that, it'll kind of come across and make just the cutest little nose. Now look at that little face. Who wouldn't love that little face? So I don't want to cut holes in the little hoodie, because then the hoodie can't flop back. So take your rabbit ears, and I just played with them. I folded them in half, but I'm not mattress stitching them closed, so they could, be a little open on the end if we want that. And I just started playing with how they would look if the little hoodie came up over. Don't want them too close to the eyes. The fold coming forward. Lifting up the side of the hoodie. And what we can do, since the ears make it fat, if we want to, we can just take a stitch and pull it a little bit together to narrow that head back down. But doing this, position your ears as if your hoodie was up. And believe me, it just looks so stinking cute. So flopping it back, making sure it's still folded in half, not losing my position. Whoops. Let it slip down just a little bit. I'm sewing it right here, right across the top here. Nice and secure. I'm going to start with a knot and then just sew around the curve. I'm going to come back up, catch this front end of my ear. Now I have a stitch there to hold it together. Coming down along the side of the face, catching both sides of my ear. And now I'm just going to go under the ear, just flop it up a little bit, about not even quite 2 fingers. Just sew underneath and come up to the top where I started and knot that off. Ears are on. It's so cute. Look at that. Just love the little face. Love that little brownish colored nose. Love the soulful eyes. And now we can put the hoodie up, and then we'll decide if we want to take that stitch to bring that head in just a little bit to round it off when it goes over the ears. And don't forget, when you closed your top of your head up, when you took out the bow and tied that knot, that if you have a little bit of a little gap in your opening, go ahead and whip stitch that closed. And there's our cute little face. All right, this is our boot. It's going to be just a single layer tube, very lightly stuffed out to give it a boot shape. So we're going to crank out black, brown, whatever color you'd like the little boot to be, 17 rows. And it's really hard to see when you have a dark color like this, but cinch it up on one end over 3 fingers, nice and snug. And that is going to be this long seam that makes the sole of our boot. And so thread up your needle, and I'm just going over the cast on threads. So folding it like this, making sure that it's really snug on my 3 fingers. Fold it in half, and I'm just going to start going under the single thread in between my rows all the way over. So it's going to be, about this long for my sole. Then I'm going to knot it off and bury that yarn tail. And this is a really easy boot. Take a little bit of stuffing, and we're just trying to, I'm going to let this be my back where my yarn tail is, because that's where I want to start sewing. We just want to push out the toe so that when we put it on and do this, we get the little boot shape. So now that I've got my stuffing in here, just a light little boot. We're not folding our tube in half. Let's cinch up our top, make sure it rolls so that we get a nice edge on it. Kind of adjust your gathers around. And before you get it too snug, push your stuffing down in your toe. Okay, it's about 2 fingers before I get to my pant leg, so I want to keep it even on both sides. Make sure you have a little bit of stuffing in your toe, and these are not stuffed out really stiff. Get a piece of brown yarn or whatever matches your boot, and we're going to shape it. Okay, I have threaded up. Get your toe, and that's our little seam we did, pointed straight up. 2 fingers, 2 fingers. Let's just push down, make a pleat so that we get our little boot shape. Come in, not right on our top of our row, but back a little bit so we can get a good grip. And we're going to tie it and knot it so we get a good firm end here. Okay, and then keep folding it in. Keep your finger in here. You're just shaping it, narrowing it down at the top, and go through your loops on the top of your row, the loops on the top of your row. So you're going under a row, and just sew up to the top. All the way up. Tie a knot, and then bury your yarn tail. Okay, so I'm going to take one look at the front. It's just too cute. And now we want to anchor the boot, so let's just go in and out. We have it snugged up on the leg. Making sure you get some of the actual leg sewn to the boot. And this is optional. I just liked a little something at the top. I don't know if you can even see this, just a little hint of a fur top. And I'm doing that by getting some fur yarn. I'm going to start right at the back, and I'm going to go over a row and just look for the next row, go over a row, under a row, just to give it a little bit of a fur top on it, right up on the edge. And then if you do this, you can bring your fur through. It just gives a little bit of a topping on there. I'm going to come right up over the top, come around to the back. I don't need that much of a yarn tail, so I'm going to go ahead and pull it through. We're going to just tie it in a knot and bury our yarn tail down into the boot. And then use our needle or our fingers to pick the fur up out of the stitches to give it that little topping. So when I pull the hoodie up over, it comes out over the ears. And so I kind of like the idea of having a little bit narrower forehead up here. So I'm just going to kind of open my ears up. I have some white yarn. I'm going to go in through the inside of his ear, come through to the other side. If you want to use a longer needle, you can. Pull it through. Come back. Come out about where you went in. Okay. Now we have our yarn tails on one side, and when we pull them, we can narrow down the forehead a little bit, which will make me happier when the hoodie is up. Just brings that forehead in a little bit. It's a much better look. It's optional, but I like it, so I'm doing it. I'm going to triple knot it. And bury the yarn tails, pull the hoodie up, and see if I don't like the way that looks better. And one final little step, and then I'm calling it done. Let me bury this off camera. Look how much more refined that looks. Just brings the ears down just by narrowing that down a little bit right underneath, because we did not sew our ears shut, so we could get our needle right up in there. So cute. Now when I pull its hoodie up, because I think a child might want to pull it up and down, it looks cuter when it goes over the ears because it's narrower. The ears aren't bulging out up there. So here we go. Little hat, little ears coming down, furry little eyes, beautiful eyes. I mean, a furry little muzzle. Boots. Looks like he's wearing pants, a little tail back here, he or she, but it kind of looks like a boy to me now. So this is optional. I took a little piece of fuzzy yarn, put a little tiny pom-pom at each end. I'm just toying with the idea of putting it up here just with a little dab of glue so it looks like you pull your strings to the hoodie, you know, and close it up under the neck. So I have my glue gun ready. I just put a little dot of glue on top of each pom-pom, and that this is a fuzzy yarn, so I just pressed it down onto it. And I'm going to just put one little dot of glue right in the center here and push this down into it. Or the little pom-poms hanging down. I'm calling it done. Is it ever really done? I don't know. I really don't know. But that's kind of cute. I like the fur, little fur top on the boots. I love the hoodie. We dressed our little rabbit. It's just almost too cute to look at. Look at this. Is that not adorable? Look. So easy. So I am so thankful that you went along on this prototype journey with me and that it turned out so cute. And I hope that you have someone in mind that would just love a little rabbit, nothing big. It sits, you can stand it up, you can sit it down. So how cute is that? Pom-poms are our friends. Everything will be in the description. So I'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, to follow Stand Up Your Tubes, where each week, or pretty much each week, I try to come up with something unique that you haven't seen before that we can try on our circular knitting machine. It's kind of a fusion where it doesn't always have to be just knitting, but it does have to be easy. And I think this is easy. And the cutest little socks are out there to become your sweaters. Alrighty then, God bless you and thank you for watching Stand Up Your Tubes, where we try to find something new under the sun as a free tutorial. Thank you.